Welcome back to Studio 5. Question for you. Have you ever yelled at your spouse or screamed at your kids? How many times? You know, maybe you said something you wished you hadn't there.
Never.
Really?
Doesn't happen.
Wow, you are amazing.
Yeah, I'm not alone, right?
Exactly.
It is human nature to overreact. We're talking men, women, moms, dads. We all lose our cool from time to time, even if we don't like to admit it.
Overreact. Do you think women overreact? Not a chance.
4th, 8 today. Right when the guys went home.
I told you 8 million times, when you empty the dryer, you clean the lint screen. Look at all this lint. What do you like, lint, Ray? Maybe I'll get you some for your birthday. Happy birthday, Ray. Here's your lint.
In what situations do you tend to overreact?
I overreact all the time. Based on my age and being postmenopausal, it happens at the drop of a hat.
I would have to say with my kids or anything that really affects my family.
Any little thing just sets me off.
Why do you do this? Why do you ruin everything? Go on. Oh, Patrick. I'm sorry. Get that dog out of here. I want that dog out of here right now.
I'll take him for a walk.
No, you take him to that farm.
All right, buddy. Looks like we're going to the farm again.
Hey, I'm serious. I'm not kidding. I can't take this anymore.
What did he do?
Everything. What hasn't he done? He's just a horrible, horrible animal.
Mostly I'm pretty calm and let my ex-wife do the overreacting, so.
Usually in very personal situations, if I get oversensitive, then I'll overreact.
And one time she says, "Don't joke or I'll have to give you the Hindenburg maneuver."
Oh, one time she caught me staring off and she goes, "Come, what's wrong? You look like a deer in headlights."
If you tell her she doesn't have a choice, she'll say, "Don't you give me an old tomato."
Oh, when she's...
Okay, enough! You try speaking in another language. Everybody out of my house!
For the most part, I don't overreact because I ask myself, is it really going to change my life in 5 minutes? And if the answer is no, it's not worth it.
So how's your rage going lately? Better.
I love that.
It's so true. All those,
great?
we can all relate to all those, can't we?
Absolutely, absolutely. It is easy to overreact. The hard part, though, is stopping ourselves from doing it before it actually happens.
So the secret, we got therapist Julie Hanks here. She's going to join us with 5 ways to stop ourselves from overreacting.
And can I just say, okay, Darren, bless his heart, works with the staff of All Women, right? And when our producer last week said you were talking about this topic, Darren's favorite line over the last week is, "When is Julie Hanks getting here again? When is Julie Hanks?" Because we tend to sometimes get excited.
Sometimes, but there are different kinds of overreacting. And there's an external overreaction. Most of those clips showed that. But there's also the internal kind, where you go over and over a situation in your mind. You may look calm. I'm looking at you, Darren. You may look calm, but you're going,
on the outside.
What did I say? What did they mean by that? And that's kind of my style. I'm not a big explosive person, but I tend to kind of ruminate and worry about things, and that can be an overreaction too.
That's an interesting point. And for women, I think that really hits the nail on the head. We do that a lot. We turn over situations and conversations in our mind again and again.
Right. It's easy, so easy to do. So today we're going to talk not just about the explosive overreactions, but also the internal, because they come from the same place.
Because either one of those could be affecting you. Even if you think, oh, I keep my cool, you still could be, I could be overreacting on the inside. 3 questions to ask ourselves before we get to this point, right?
Yes. The first one is, do you have to apologize to others for your actions and your words? Are you constantly saying, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean that, I was just having a bad day," right? The next is, are you often surprised by your seemingly uncontrollable response?
Like you surprise yourself by what you say and do.
Right. Or what's coming up inside of you. Is that, and then do you assume the worst about people or situations?
And that's an interesting one.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you play the worst case game in hopes of finding a solution.
Right. And most of us actually go to the worst case scenario. They must not like me, or they, right? So we're going to talk about how to get over that.
Okay, so we've asked those 3 questions, trying to analyze if we overreact, if we might be falling into this trap here. First, then we're going to get some steps to overcome all this. First one you say is, don't neglect the basics. What does that mean?
Okay, this is classic, especially I think for women. In the name of taking care of other people, we neglect ourselves, our sleep, our food, our hydration, getting rest. And what happens is our loved ones that we're taking care of end up suffering because we're depleted and we tend to overreact. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So taking care of your basic needs. I'm sure you both have had times when you're not feeling well and your reactions are more exaggerated. So taking care of your basic physical needs actually helps you keep your emotions in check.
This next one, tune in and name it. What do you mean by that?
I actually had a situation where I got to practice this over the weekend.
Oh, good.
Yes.
Glad we could help out.
So my teenage daughter was giving me some really harsh feedback about my parenting. And
she's saying it with such a cute smile, isn't she?
And the way she phrased it, too.
And you know, I'm not just a mom, but I'm also a therapist, so to hear things like, "You never listen to me." So I tuned in and named it so I didn't overreact, right? So what I tuned into was I felt this hot feeling rising in me. I'm like, I am getting so defensive. I'm saying this in my head. I'm like, I'm defensive. Okay, I want to stay with her. But tuning in and going, okay, I'm feeling defensive. I'm going to put that on the back burner. And I was able to stay with her and really hear what she was saying without going, after all I do for you, you know, ungrateful little brat. So I didn't overreact.
You named, though, the emotion you were feeling.
I named it. I'm defensive, I'm sad, I'm hurt, and I also noticed the body sensation. So that's the tuning in. What happens? Does my face get flushed? Do I get tense? Does my heart start pounding? So what are those signs that you're about to overreact? And then by naming it, you actually help your sides of the brain communicate and are able to calm down your gut emotional response.
You're able to table it. You're able to say, I'm separating this, what I'm feeling, from the actual situation. The emotion from the situation.
By naming it, you get the other part of your brain, not just the emotional survival part. You activate.
My wife did a great thing over the weekend. My daughter having a fit, and she was slamming the door of her chest of drawers, kind of a bureau, and broke it off the hinges. Then she felt bad and called my wife in and said, look what I did. And my wife took a deep breath and didn't overreact. And you say that's part of the key, is actually literally taking the breath thing.
Yes, and it sounds so simple, but just taking a deep breath calms the fight or flight response. We have this initial reaction to react, and that's a survival thing. You know, we need to protect ourselves, but often it comes up when we really don't need to protect. We're not in physical danger when the bureau, you know,
breaks all the front.
Right. I mean, okay, it's frustrating, but actually, taking a deep breath calms your nervous system.
But you know, that's easy to say. If you're in the middle of it and you feel it, you don't want to say,
breathe in. No,
yeah.
You do.
Do you have to really do that?
You will respond from a more clear and productive place. Now I did an unofficial Facebook poll and I said, what situations do you overreact? And the #1 response was driving. So I just imagine everyone driving, taking deep breaths in and out. No one would be, you know, gesturing or screaming at each other. I think the world would be a much better place.
Okay, you say once you've identified those internal emotions, what's going on in your body physically and emotionally, you can actually intervene, kind of stop what's happening with positive thinking. True?
Right. You mentioned earlier, Brooke, that you know, we tend to take a negative view, like worst case scenario. Put a positive spin on it. It really can be helpful to, you know, say you didn't get invited to a function, right? You feel hurt. You can make up a story that makes that a positive thing. Oh, they probably just forgot. Or you could, you know, the negative would be, oh, nobody likes me anyway. I'm always the one, right? Never and always are cue words that you're going to the negative spin. But so put a positive spin on it. Yeah, it's really hard to do it once you train yourself to do that, to go make up a story that makes sense in a positive light.
It's probably easier the third and fourth time. Once you've done it.
All of these take practice.
Yeah.
I mean, great point. They all take practice.
And the last one you say, identify and resolve emotional leftovers. What are those?
So if you find yourself time and time again feeling a similar emotion that you tend to overreact to, or overreacting in similar situations, there is an emotional leftover, which is something that has happened long ago that keeps being replayed and replayed. An example is I'm working with a client who is very sensitive to being left out of social gatherings and tends to go to that worst case scenario. But she felt left out growing up, and she felt emotionally not close to her parents at times. And so it kind of brings all this past stuff up to the present and makes it a lot more, her reaction doesn't quite match. Like, okay, you didn't get invited to dinner with a couple of friends, but she's in tears, sobbing, and right?
So it could be deeper.
It could be deeper, and that's the emotional leftover, and it's important to look for those patterns in your life and go, okay, maybe there's something else at play here that I need to heal, and that's where the therapist comes in, right?
Yeah.
So there are deeper things, so watch for those patterns. If you find that certain situations, you're gone. You're overreacting before you can think about it.
And as we mentioned, it's hard the first or second time, but then it'll become a habit and easier third and fourth and fifth time after that.
Yes.
We've got all of Julie's information, of course, on our website. You can find more right there at studio5.ksl.com, and we'll be right back with more on Studio 5.